Hi, everyone and no one. I just wanted to come on here on the YouTube and share 3 words. Only I'm going to stretch them out. But first, I just want to remind everybody that I'm a student of Rupert Spira, and a friend. Um, he likes to be called a friend rather than a teacher. And the reason I keep bringing that up because that was your life leads you in steps of where you are, and my my latest step in my life needed. Um, I was alone a lot, and I had time to clear up the confusion. So I began to seek, and and I found clarification to what I had always been trying to um, put together on my own, and I needed help. And so when I found Rupert, my search was over, and then life began. Um, okay, so I'm here to share 3 words and stretch them out, or continue on, or whatever you want to say. And those 3 words are investigate, investigate, investigate. Those are the 3 words. I cheated. Okay, they're the same words over and over. But it's to intentionally, I'm just trying to make it stronger by having 3 of them. So, um, that is something that I feel so strong to share because, for one thing, um, I was led by the nose, by fear. Everything as I traced, from childhood, all my anxieties, hurts, problems, I would trace them all back. I would trace them back just to know what they were, and their root was always fear. Everything, every negative feeling I had in life was from fear. So I can kind of, for myself, I did learn to lump it all into one because it was really all one. Now that didn't mean that, trying to solve fear was big, so I still had to, in the beginning I was taking things out of the fear bucket and trying to solve one at a time. Well, that can be endless. So when I just realized I was so dreadfully fearful of life, and I had no comfort blanket, so to speak. Um, and that's not a bad thing because that put it in the foreground, and it was strong. It was hard to get the understanding, all the understanding that I needed in life. And of course, I let distractions gratefully cover it up more than not. So, investigate, investigate, investigate. And one of the things I still do, or one of the things that Rupert has led me to, is to understand anything that pops up that feels like it's negative, really. Anything that pops up inside you that feels negative is something to investigate. Because what I'm noticing very clearly is that when I'm in that place of being aware that I'm aware, when I am in that place of knowing who I truly am, when I am putting that in the foreground of knowing, when that's in my foreground and my experience is beautifully unfolding in front of me, it's all joy and happiness that I didn't realize was an entity on its own. I thought these things were the waves. I mean, and they are, but I thought these things and feelings, and I didn't think of them as things flowing through this ever-present I don't want to call it a space, flowing through this ever-present being, or this ever-presence. So things and feelings were me. So I felt like they were created by me, they were of me, they were made from me, and all the things you're taught and conditioned in life that your body creates chemicals and reactions and this and that. And so that's where what I thought I was, and I needed to understand how to control these things, which was, I invented all kinds of ways, and my latest was a bubble, an impermeable bubble that had that surrounded me and protected me from the effects of the outside world. And then later I put a lever on it so I could control what goes in and out. Anyway, whatever it took for me to not be so bombarded so I could try to understand things. So once I got into the sharings of Rupert Spira, I did get so much more understanding and comfort about going behind things, people, places, things, objects, experience, even getting to that place of knowing that was before what existed. So, well, words are so tricky, and I don't have them like Rupert does, so I'm just explaining my own feelings and trying not to be clumsy with words, but that's difficult not to do with my lack of background in that. So anyway, as Rupert takes you through this series of really getting deeper with yourself so that you can finally get underneath what you think you are, or the illusion of what you are, and how your body mind makes you, and how you're actually created by this ever-presence, which is another thing that I felt through my life. I knew we were created by this ever-presence, but I couldn't put logic to it. I couldn't put an understanding to it. So I stayed confused because I was this body that created me, that creates feelings and thoughts, and then there was this oneness of all things, and I couldn't get it all to come together, and it was so difficult that I tried every which way to not think about it when I could. So anyway, by investigating that, whatever way you find to do that, I found that through Rupert. You can find it through all different ways. I just felt like that was the quickest, most straightforward. I like straightforward and direct things, and that's, well, I guess I didn't when I was trying to, when I was so exhausted from trying to figure everything out on my own. It wasn't until I actually felt like I needed help that I learned to reach out in that spiritual way. I have to use that word because I don't know what other word to use. So once I learned how to get underneath my body, mind, and all of that, and see how all experience and thoughts and things flow through it, and that that's all there is, and that we are that, and that we are not, it's not existing in us, it's something we flow through. We are, we just are. We are that experience of that ever-present, never born, never dying, that ever-presence, the ever-presence of, okay, I gotta use the word God because it just does it for me. It might not for anyone else, so use whatever word that you would like, but investigate, investigate, investigate. And I think once we realize that when we're in, well, when I realized the difference of when I'm in that unperturbable being, when I'm not ignoring or veiling that, I'm happy, I'm unperturbable, I am love, I'm not loving, I am love. And boy, I had to go through the experience of that too, because I had to realize that when I was loving things and loving people, I could be perturbed. I could be, it could let me down. I could see the negative emotions that happen from that place. And when I am in that unperturbable oneness of that ever-presence, and I am love, then I can't be perturbed. So I know when these things are happening. So I'm aware, I mean, I am aware. I know that I'm aware. So I can watch these things happen. And so sometimes when a conditioning of some sort pops up and is so strong to take me, again, I know right away, investigate, investigate, investigate. What has you so strong? What conditioning? Because what is happening to me now, living life with this new understanding, it's deeper understanding. It's not a new understanding, it's a deeper understanding. That's always there, always been there, but it's hard for us to find it somehow. So, so once I've felt those two different ways of, I say two different ways, well, I will say two different ways of being, where I'm veiling or I'm not veiling, that ever presence, then I can notice it. And when something has me so much, and I can sit with it and investigate it and understand it, that's another thing. Understanding is the way to eliminate fear. So if you fear something, investigate. And I've lumped everything into fear. So when I see something happen, I locate where the fear is coming from in my deepest part, and then I investigate and understand it, because the more I understand about it and why I feared it, and just understand it and where it came from, as a human being, I release the story around it. I realize it's just a story I told myself, and it dissipates. So usually it's something tucked back in there that I have feared for so long that I don't know it's there. Those things will pop up on occasion. And so my so-called practice is to investigate it, understand it, and it releases itself into the ether. And just kind of, it's not in your container, it's not in this container anymore, the fear bucket. So, but I let it happen on its own. It's not a forceful thing, but it is kind of an effort, because we're so conditioned. I have to say that when a fear pops up, and for me to investigate it, it does take a little effort, because I want to not investigate it. I want the easy way. I'm so thick with conditioning that I do have to make an effort. But I do notice that my effort is better, easier, and I want to do it because it's interesting. So that is all of these things, actually, all of this winding up, all of this doing that final deep dive has come from Rupert Spara's sharing. So, and I'm not trying to sell anything. I am just saying that has been a tool. So it's one to look at or not, or look at, some tool that might help you be more direct, or maybe you need to be gentler and more roundabout, because it gets too confusing, and that's fine, whatever way it is. But I wrote some notes here, so I don't want to miss speaking to these things. So, that's another thing I have noticed, is that in investigating and knowing that I'm aware and being able to look at what's happening, I can tell what there's some different eyes that you come from, because you can come from that ever-present I am, or I. You can come from the mind-body I, like you might be talking to someone and you know where you're coming from. That's the cool thing, is knowing where you're coming from, knowing yourself, knowing that ever-present underlies everything. That's where we come from. That's where we're birthed from, is that place. But when you're speaking from that place, when you're speaking from mind body, you know that you're speaking from mind body to another mind body, or whatever it is, or you're a separate self. You're in this in this container of the separate self, and you haven't um, walked out of it yet. You haven't been able to get deep enough into that ever presence. You can know that you're restricted and that you have a wall up somewhere, and you know you're coming from that um, separate self, I. So that's 3 different I's that you can come from. And it's nice to know which one you're coming from, because then when you investigate, that's one of them, is to know where you're coming from, what's going on with you, where you are. And then you can be fully there and share from that place knowingly. And I think that's where I am now, is trying to be aware of which I'm speaking from, because on these videos, which has been so very helpful, these videos have been very helpful, and I do them on Instagram and stuff, and they're kind of too quick, so I mess up a lot. But I don't think it's not messing up. It's just that I say things too quickly because I have a short time. On YouTube, I don't really think about it. But anyway, they have helped me so much into actually seeing where I am. I mean, I've looked at myself, and I can see in my videos that I'm going from here to there, and I'm not distinguishing, because I'm not distinguishing it inside me. I'm not knowing which one I'm coming from, but I'm coming from all of them in this one conversation, all of the I's. I'm coming from my separate self over here, the comment, and I'm coming from the ever-present being, that it's like I'm divided. So I'm actually coming from the separate self when I'm interacting with myself, learning or investigating each one of these. They're all there, intermingling around inside of me, and I'm trying to put it all together. So where I am now is just knowing, or trying to know inside myself, to direct and focus from that place and know where I'm focusing from, so that I know how to speak in that understanding when sharing or speaking with someone. So that really helps any confusion, and it helps your sharing, so it helps your relationship as you go out into life. And so that's a beautiful thing I'm working on right now. So another thing, I guess, that I would like to say on this video is that's another thing that I've been looking at. It's not so much as comparing myself with anyone else, but I am noticing when I'm out in the world. Well, I guess that's where all of these things I've been talking about have come from. But I've been noticing in the world when I'm speaking with someone, like on awareness, I'm noticing the contrast of the conversation, because I'll be coming from one place and they'll be coming from another. And so I when listening, because it can be a family member or whatever, and that can easily trigger you out of your effervescent, not effervescent, but ever present um, I, because you want to relate from there, and you're not relating from there. So when I sit and investigate, it's so sillily obvious, that I need to know if I'm coming from this eye, or that eye, because um, the other person isn't focused on, or may, in the majority of cases, the other person is not focused on the same direction you are, or on the same, with the same understanding that you are. They're not working with that in their being. And so when they look at the word awareness, for instance, if I use it, it's just automatic that I'm doing that it's just automatic that I'm in the ever-present space when I even use the word awareness. I don't even associate the word awareness with just waking up and objects that you see and things around you. And I think I've had that threaded through my whole life. I didn't understand it, but I remember, like at work, way before I got into this understanding, I had someone, a young man, where I was working with, said, because I would always ask people questions about how they felt about life, or this, that, or the other. And this gentleman said, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. If I don't see it, it's not there. I do not believe in this unseen stuff, whatever. Well, I fortunately was into unseen all my life. I don't know why. I was just into feelings. I was withdrawn, but I always had a basis inside of me that said the unseen is where we're created from. I just always knew that, even if I did have this body mind that said, the brain is inside your body and everything is created this identity from this working, and not realize I was a thing. I wasn't realizing how to put that together, but in my feeling, which I trusted my feelings more than anything, without any understanding being applied to it. When I applied understanding to it, it was totally confusing, and I couldn't do it, and that's what I'm doing now. So, but when I would think, I always thought the unseen was more important, and that's where we came from. That's why it was more important, because everything came from the unseen, because that was God. And God is love, and we all came from there. But understanding it, I could not do. And so I was always in a realm of questions. But so when you're talking to somebody out there, and you're coming from, like when I use the word awareness, and I'm coming from that ever presence, and someone is talking to me from the awareness of just body, mind, awake in the daytime, doing their thing, and then when they're asleep, they're not aware, thing, that would confuse me again, because I was like, so when I investigated it, it was such a contrast for me now to look at it right now. I look at it and just see, I see it so vividly the contrast, because inside of me I really couldn't see the contrast, because I didn't think of awareness that way. But yeah, but I did every day like that. But I still knew and believed. I used to say my spirit part of me, or my belief, whatever, or I kept in my back pocket, because I never could really talk to anyone about it, because my understanding was so amiss with um, being in my body out in the world, and then knowing that we are created from the unseen, and that was more important than the seen. I just didn't have the logic. So Rupert has helped me with that so much. So now that I can see that contrast of those two things, now it's all okay, because I know the different eyes, and I have this understanding that's a breath of fresh air. So that's where I am. And as a student sharing this, I'm thinking that if I was a student, or if I was searching for something, it would be refreshing to me to see a student going through stuff, because sometimes we think of teachers and it's intimidating. I know I went through this study concept therapy way back. I wasn't able to get enough out of it, but I still had that oneness feeling. And I went to one of the courses. I was so intimidated, I had to not take it. And so then, because I began to take it, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this with these people were just so intimidating. Then I found someone that taught the course. It was just out of the blue. It was like life presented it to me, and they were teaching this concept therapy, and they were so down to earth. They were so comforting, and they were so open, and they were so on. And then it was like, oh, I can do this with them. So I took the whole thing, and I enjoyed it immensely, but my life was in shambles. I was going through loving someone, like we were talking about, and I wasn't being loved. I was loving someone, and they were wanting me to be a certain way, and I didn't know how. I didn't know how to be that. And it would make this person very violent for me not to be what I needed to be for him. It was horrible. So I couldn't do much reflecting when I was home, because there was always some background that wouldn't be good if I started talking or doing anything against whatever. So that was a time when that lesson, I bought all the books, and I had them here, but I still had some missing pieces, and it was still a little story that you just couldn't get your hand around. Like Rupert is dead on. It's like I get it when he does his thing with his selection of words and his years of doing that, being creative with words and putting them together so that they right at you. I don't need these little stories that I have to, I don't need parables, and I don't need, although I love them, doesn't mean I don't love them, but I mean, I'm trying to put this understanding in a way that works for me, and the concept therapy woo-wooed out too much and went into things that were like, I'm, so, And I'm not putting that down. It was a beautiful thing to go through because it actually woke many people up. I don't know that I woke up in this manner, but I've actually heard people, because I don't think I could in my situation, but a lot of people opened up to, oh, I thought we couldn't have control over circumstances. They just happened to us. And that's all, you know, that's another eye and another whole thing we can go into. But I don't want to go into that right now. But a lot of people got a lot out of it so that they didn't just ride life through and didn't understand anything, and still at the end there's a lot not understood, but a lot of people I found that they could they didn't have to just ride the waves, they could be the wave. So, and I don't know if that's what I'm not going to get into that anymore, because then I have to go into thinking about it too much. But a lot of people got a lot of stuff out of that course. And I think it was more of a escape for me than actually getting out of it. I didn't get out of it what I needed completely, but I did, maybe. I think I did get, it all is good. I did get out of it what I needed, because I needed to be there instead of where I was. And it was a very loving and spiritual place to be, studying that, and that was all good for me. And I loved the people, and I loved what the gentleman was doing to make that course, and I thought, oh, this is a beautiful thing to do, and people lived in a space, they had a community, and that was all nice and good. But now I'm in a place that what I needed has come to me for this step. And I don't know, my search just ended after studying Rupert a year or so, or listening and learning from his words, putting those pieces of the puzzle together for myself. Yeah, so life began, and now I'm trying to go into life with that ever presence and be, and that's a lot of investigate. So I don't even think there's any reason to go on, and I'm talking to the universe, and I love you. I love. So, okay. Till next time.